Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Intelligent Training, Holistic Health. We are your hosts, James and Francesca, and today's episode is on habits. So in today's episode, we'll break down what causes habits, how you can get rid of those habits and replace them with new habits. And at the end, we are going to give you 5 of our favorite habits that we feel everybody can benefit from.
I like it.
There we go.
First of all, though, I know what he's going to ask me. What's my worst habit? But I'm going to turn it around straight away so I don't have to answer. What are your worst habits, James?
My worst habits?
Shall we keep it health and fitness related? Because I could go into loads of his worst
My worst habits are health and fitness related is eating crisps. Too many crisps, I would say.
Yeah, too many.
Too many crisps. Not eating crisps. Crisps are good to eat.
They're
not good in moderation. Everything's good to eat in moderation. But when you eat too many crisps,
because
it can affect things.
He's an all or nothing kind of guy with things. So it's a bit like, I'll tell you, I'm just going to go off on a tangent. It's a bit like a movie. Say you watch a really good movie and you go, oh, that was a brilliant movie. Then that's it. For me, I've watched the movie, that's great. Maybe I'll watch it again down the line at some point, but I don't need to watch it again and again. James will watch it on repeat again and again, the day after, and he just goes all in until he's sick of it.
Which I'm never sick of it.
Which he's never sick of it, no. And then there'll be something else that will interject, and that will be the new favorite thing.
Yeah,
that's what he's like with crisps or with any kind of food we have. We kind of, if we like a certain food or a certain dish for dinner, we seem to have it over and over and over again, don't we?
Yeah.
And it just becomes a habit that we get into until something else comes along that we don't like.
Yeah, it is very true. So what's your worst habit, I would say? No, what is your worst? I'm not going to say.
I knew he was going to say.
You say what's your worst habit? Nutrition-wise.
Nutrition-wise?
Or training-wise? Not training. What are your worst habits?
It's when I get stuck in a wheel of not training. Yeah, that's definitely my worst habit.
Yeah, but that's a lot of people's.
But that is a lot of people's. It's so easy to get on the wheel and train every day. And then, for example, we have just been at our friend's wedding.
Yeah.
Coming back, super tired. All I want to do is sleep, because obviously we just had quite a heavy weekend of celebration, traveling and lack of sleep. And early mornings, and then you get back and it's really hard because you're tired. It's really hard to then get back into the gym. That's the time that you really should just go, no matter what, even if it's 20 minutes, you should just go, turn up, because you're just forming that habit again of showing up to the gym. Whereas what we all do is succumb to the feeling of being tired and lethargic, and we say, no, we'll go the next day. And then the next day becomes the day after that, and then you just get into a habit of not going to the gym.
Yeah, and this is full circle back to our second podcast on comfort zones.
Exactly.
So your comfort zone has shrunk a little bit, and maybe the habit isn't as well formed as it should be, so then it's easy to revert back to not going to the gym.
Yeah, and nobody's immune to it. We can all get into really good habits, and something can throw us off, and we can easily get into some bad habits, and it can be really hard to get back on track. But one thing is reflection upon yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a big one. So this is one thing that I'll do especially with clients at the beginning, is have them sit down and just write down a whole list of your bad habits.
Mm-hmm.
So I've done this, I do this myself. Just take get a piece of paper, one side of the paper, just have all your bad habits written down, and take 20 to 30 minutes for this, because you're going to start diving deeper and deeper and deeper into the habits you may have thought weren't quite such a problem, but they are a problem. And then once they are listed out, you can kind of see which ones are in front of you, which ones you want to tackle first. So this is a brilliant task to do. And then alongside of the list of bad habits, you can do what we call the 4 W's. So the 4 W's is when, the second one is where, third one is who, and the fourth one is what. So before we get into that, I'm just going to say that the 2 main culprits for making us revert back to our bad habits, one is stress and the other is boredom.
And in this current climate, stress is a huge factor, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
huge.
So it's so easy to not be aware of those bad habits. And I think, and you know, we're talking to clients and talking to anyone, you kind of know, you go, oh yeah, when I'm stressed, maybe I eat, you know, more, or I eat certain foods or whatever, I cling to the packet of biscuits, or when I'm stressed, I bite my nails, or whatever it is that you do. Everyone's kind of aware that they do it, but at the time they're doing that certain habit, they're not necessarily aware, are they?
And the reason you do the habit is simply to get you out of that current state. So that current state of stress, or the current state of boredom. So it is a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
So you're doing it because your body doesn't want to feel that stress anymore. It doesn't want to feel that boredom. So then we interject with something else, and usually it is something bad. So for example, I used to do this with social media. So this is one of the reasons I came off social media for the past few months. Is I don't know how many times I would go to check something on my phone. For example, I'll be looking something up for work, for example, some research. Next thing I know, I'm 10 minutes deep into scrolling Instagram, and then I have no clue what I went on my phone for. And I'm like, oh man. So that was just a bad habit. That was just me distracting myself from the stress of having to look something up. And then 10 minutes later, I'm scrolling through a load of nonsense. And yeah, it's not helpful at all.
And if you wrote down your day and wrote down everything that you were doing in that day and almost documented it, it would be amazing how many minutes, probably hours, you rack up doing something to get you out of that current state of discomfort. So you would probably say it's a bad habit, like scrolling social media, like walking to the fridge, going to get snacks that perhaps are not conducive to your goals, or anything, sitting there biting your nails, or putting the washing on because you don't want to tackle exactly. So there are loads of things, although washing is a great one, because you know,
you feel like you're doing something.
You feel like you're doing something productive, but it might not be
what you should be doing.
So it's difficult. But if you did lay out your day, as well as all the bad habits that you do, and look at how many times those bad habits fall into your day because you're interjecting them
just to get you out of that state.
Exactly. Then it would probably amaze you at how much time you have, and then also amaze you at how much time you could allocate to going to the gym, or going for a walk, or anything that we all decide to say that we don't have enough time for. That's what I just said.
Oh, did you? Yeah. So that's it. So and then so once you have those lists, going back to the 4 W's. So once you do have the list, the when. So when does it happen? So for example, a big one with clients, especially trying to lose weight, is snacking. So snacking is purely out of boredom. So we normally snack on chocolate, we snack on crisps, delicious. So don't blame me for that one. And then we snack on kind of obviously snacky foods. But if you were truly hungry, you would be satisfied with a piece of broccoli, piece of plain chicken. So it's not true hunger. It's just pure boredom. Okay. So when we're going through the 4 W's thing, so list out. So the first one is when. So snacking, for example, we use a snacking as an example. So for the first one, snacking, when does it normally happen? This normally happens at home. Okay. So this normally happens. Sorry, that was where. But the when is usually in the evening, and it's usually after people have had dinner and then they're sat around watching TV.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the where, which I just alluded to, which is you're normally at home, you're normally on the sofa. Okay. And then the who can be a big one with other things in the bad habits. But who, if you are snacking, usually is with your partner. Could be just on your own, just sat at home snacking. And the what. So the what is what triggered it. So for example, for the snacking is usually boredom. So like I said, if you were truly hungry, you would be happy with the broccoli, or you would be happy with the chicken.
And another example is going to the cinema and getting a bag of popcorn. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
absolutely. But if it's not conducive to your goals, and you realize it's that trigger, isn't it? I'm at the cinema.
Yeah.
I'm watching a movie, so I'm going to grab a bag of popcorn.
Yeah.
And that's the same those are the same triggers that you get at home. Sure, you might want to have a bag of popcorn in the cinema. That's fine. But it's, again, just look at it. It's the trigger. It's the setup of the environment that you're in that has, triggered you to go and get that bag of popcorn and sit there.
Yeah.
exactly, look at your environment at home or at work. You know, in the office, are they bringing in loads of cakes? I know that's a big thing in offices, isn't it?
Massive one. There's always a birthday, people.
There's always a birthday. And so that can trigger as well. So definitely look at the when it happens, where it happens, who it's happening with, and
what's caused it,
what is causing it.
And especially if you are, for example, if you are in the cinema eating, then this is just mindless eating. So this is why I always recommend try not to eat at your desk, or try not to eat with the TV on, or for example at the cinema, because you are completely distracted by something else. So you're going to completely miss your satiety cues. You're not going to know when you are full. So because you're distracted with something else, that's why it's so easy just to go through a whole packet of crisps. One, because they're delicious, and two, because you're distracted. You know I love crisps. But two, because you're distracted, because you're not concentrating on the food. So when you do eat, you want to be mindful of the food.
Yeah.
And you just want to sit there. This is why it's good to have, like, sit around a table if you have a family, have a conversation, and then it just slows everything down. Because for digestion, you don't want to be, if you are distracted, then you've got to be put into that part of your sympathetic nervous system, which is kind of the fight or flight mode, which will draw blood away from your digestive tract. It will take away your saliva. It will inhibit a lot of things that you need for digestion. So if you're eating distracted, then it will slow digestion. So
put your phone away, chuck it in another room as well, because it's so tempting. Nobody's immune to it. My phone, if it's sat next to me, I'll be doing something, and there's no way I can't just go a second without picking it up and checking it for no apparent reason other than I'm just triggered to, because it's there. So everything, take all distractions out.
So especially when you're eating, because you want to be in a different part of your nervous system, which is a lot more calming, which is more conducive to digestion. So you want to be a bit more chilled when you are eating.
And it's the same, just to take it off nutrition to a completely different example. It's the same with snoozing your alarm. That becomes a habit in the morning. You just get used to pressing the snooze button instead of just pressing the off button and getting straight up. So I think it ties nicely into going through, what do we do? Because what we don't want to do is, and what many people do, is take those habits away and they don't replace them with something else. So therefore it becomes really difficult to achieve getting rid of that habit, right? And it's the same with the snooze button. So you don't want to press snooze. You want to try and get right up as soon as your alarm goes off. Yes, you can press the stop button, but is that enough to trigger you not to then just lie there? What else can you do to interject those habits and change them so that you're replacing those habits with something more conducive to your goals?
So the way this works, the way your kind of brain works, they have these kind of they're called like closed. So your habit is kind of on a closed loop. So this neural network, there's a closed loop. So instead of just trying to get rid of the habit, it's very hard. That's why if someone says to you, "I'll just stop doing it," it can be very hard to stop doing it. That doesn't really work. You have to try and, like what Franny says, interject with something else. So for example, this neural, so people that are watching, so the neural network, you're kind of on this closed loop. You want to try and interject into this closed loop and start trying to create a new loop off of the current loop. So instead of just starting a new loop somewhere else, you have to try and break the bad habit down and slowly interject with the new habit. So for example, for the evening one I've done with a lot of clients for snacking, once you feel yourself go to the cupboard or you're at the cupboard, then this is the time to interject with something else. Even if it's just on the spot, do 10 push-ups or 10 air squats, or a lot of them I've just got to go for an evening walk, because it helps with digestion and it helps with, there's a lot of benefits to it. So you need to just interject. So it's more important to interject with a new habit than what the new habit is.
Right. That's a really important one, because I think people get fixated on what is the best habit that I can interject with.
So anything. So this is why the 10 push-ups or 10 squats is brilliant, because you can literally do this anywhere. And
it's literally just going in there and breaking the circuit.
So you just got to break that circuit, and then every time it happens, keep breaking it, and then you will form that new loop. So then that will become the new habit. And there's a lot of numbers thrown out there on how long it takes to develop a new habit. But it's obviously very dependent what the habit is, so how ingrained the habit is. So for example, somebody smoking 20 cigarettes for 20 years straight, that habit is going to take a lot longer to change than, for example, me scrolling social media for the past I don't know, however many months, and I want to get rid of that habit. So this is going to be the time difference will be a lot different. So there was a study out of the University of London, and they showed that it took to create a new habit took anywhere from 2.5 weeks to 3.5 months. So that's quite a range.
Yeah.
Okay. So just know that it will happen. It might not happen overnight. So it's going to take some time, but just know if you do keep interjecting, you do keep interjecting with a new habit, then it will happen. So Rome wasn't built in a day, but just keep going at it, and you will create a new habit.
I think that's a really important one to get across to everyone as well, is that it isn't as easy and as quick to just interject with new things and think, right, I'm breaking the circuit. That must mean it's going to come easy every time. It's not. You're going to feel the discomfort. Going back to that comfort zone, you're going to feel the discomfort because you're going to really want to carry on with that bad habit. It's ingrained. You're probably not even aware how long it's been ingrained in you.
And it's there for a reason. Like we said, it is a coping mechanism because you don't have a better way of coping with things.
Yeah. And that's just normal with everybody. Nobody's immune to that. Nobody's got the perfect habits. Everything, your body is always trying to stay in that comfort zone somehow. So if there is discomfort with certain stressors, it's going to go and find a coping mechanism. And like we said before with the comfort zone episode, you're stuck in that comfort zone and your body wants to keep you there, even to the detriment of its own health.
Yeah.
And that's the same with habits, isn't it? It wants to keep you within that habit because it's keeping you comfortable and not feeling, you're getting that coping mechanism and you're not feeling the discomfort of doing the task at hand that you need to do.
Yeah.
So of course it's going to be difficult. And of course you're going to have days where you lapse. That is normal. It's literally about going through, being aware, reflecting daily on how you're doing with your habits, breaking it every time, just interjecting every time, even if you fail.
And at the beginning, when you have more motivation, this is what I always like to say, especially with clients, is say leverage your motivation at the beginning. So motivation is finite. The motivation isn't going to last forever. But if you can leverage the motivation at the start when you have the highest amount of motivation, so every single time your bad habit does arise, you are going to stop it and you are going to interject with a new habit. So do that every time at the beginning. So leverage that motivation at the beginning because it can take 2.5 weeks. So you're going to have motivation for 2.5 weeks. So if you could keep doing it, then keep doing it while the motivation is high, you might start forming habits straight off the motivation. But then once the motivation does start tapering off, this is where you have to be disciplined.
Yeah.
So discipline is going to overrule everything. So the times you don't want to go to the gym, discipline is going to get you to the gym. When you do feel like snacking, but you have a weight loss goal, discipline is going to stop you from having that snack.
Yeah.
So just try and leverage the motivation at the beginning because that will help you out. And then you're just going to have to be disciplined to keep it going.
And to help that discipline, that's when the new habits are really important. To interject, aren't they? Because you spend long enough thinking about something, you can talk yourself out of anything. But if you have something straight away that you can interject with, whether it be push-ups, squats, just walking straight out the door for a walk, whatever it is, you've interjected as quick as possible. You haven't got time to think about it. You action. So you action that new habit straight away. You don't think about it and you get out, and it's amazing how quickly it turns things around and you'll just forget about the old habit, right?
Yeah, that's it. It's so true. So you just got to keep going, and eventually it will ingrain in you. Eventually it'll be like brushing your teeth.
Absolutely. And for everybody listening, what are things that they could implement now? What are great habits that they could implement now that perhaps they could use as a new habit for their old habits?
Cool. So I'm not sure what the old habit, don't know how to interject for old habits. We could do so getting out. So one of the best habits that I find works really well for a lot of reasons is getting out first thing in the morning, even if you don't have to go for a walk, but trying to get some morning sun in your eyes first thing in the morning.
So even if you could stand outside with a cup of coffee or something.
So even if you're not going to go for a walk, stand outside with a coffee. This is one of the best things you can do for setting your circadian rhythms. So circadian rhythms are your sleep-wake cycle. So this is one of the best things you can do. So you want to get out first thing in the morning when the sun is fairly low, and the sun, so at that time it's like a bluey kind of yellow on the light spectrum. So this hits your eyes differently, and this is more indicative for setting circadian rhythms. Okay, so getting out first thing in the morning is one of the best things you can do for your sleep later that day. Which
in the long term will help you stop snoozing your alarm.
Yeah.
Because you will have a better circadian rhythm. So you know, if you
won't feel as tired when you wake up.
Exactly. So these things straight away may not be obvious that they're connected, but over the long term, as you get used to doing them, you'll realize how much easier it is to just get up once your alarm goes off, or perhaps you end up waking up before your alarm goes off because your circadian rhythm is set. And you're waking up at the right time.
And that's the best thing. So if you can wake up without an alarm, that's even better. So that's how I get up every day, is I just wake up without an alarm. I have an alarm set because I want to, just in case, but I want to get up at a certain time, but my body will always wake me up 5-10 minutes beforehand.
But
so that's when you know you have a solid circadian rhythm.
Absolutely. But that took a while. It took a
long time. So it took a while, but if you're diligent, and then it will happen.
And the way you did that was, and obviously life gets in the way, so it's not perfect all the time, but you went to bed at pretty much the same time every day, and you got up at the same time every day. Now, of course, everybody's lifestyles are different, and that's not always possible. It's about being as close to that as you can, right?
So that'd be the second habit, would say, as well, is creating a solid sleep-wake cycle. So when you go to bed and when you wake up should be the same time every single day, or within an hour each side. So make sure you go to bed and wake up at the same time every single day. This will be the number one thing you can do for your sleep-wake cycle. So your body loves routine. And so the way your body works, especially with certain hormones in the body, so you have cortisol will rise in the morning, and this will wake you up. So this cortisol wakes you up. So everyone thinks of cortisol as a bad hormone. Cortisol is an amazing hormone. It's anti-inflammatory. It's amazing for a lot of reasons. But cortisol will rise in the morning and it will wake you up. So it will peak, and then it will start coming down during the day because we need less energy. So cortisol is a hormone of energy. So it'll start coming down. But then, for example, the inverse will be with melatonin. Melatonin will be lowest in the morning, and then it will start rising in the evening. And this is the sleep hormone. So this hormone will put you to sleep. So if you have the goalposts of waking up and going to sleep at the same time every day, then your cortisol and your melatonin rhythms are going to be bang in the middle, and they're going to be exact every single time. And so they know the rhythm, they know the pattern. But if you keep shifting the goalposts, if you go to sleep and you wake up at different times, your cycles don't know what's going on. So then your cortisol is going to be what's going on here, and it's just not going to sit in the right rhythm. So then this is why you'll feel groggy. So if you can wake up and go to sleep at the same time, even on weekends, then you've got to set yourself up for success, and you've got to feel a lot fresher. So this is one of the biggest things. This is the biggest thing I can say will help you for setting your circadian rhythms and not feeling as tired through the day.
And let's think of an example of another habit that's really easy that people can interject into their day.
Drinking an adequate amount of water.
That's a good one, because
that's a big one.
Loads of people always say, how do you drink enough water? I can't drink enough. Sure, lots of people get bored of water. You can put lemons and cucumbers and flavored things in, right?
Look, any liquid.
Yeah.
But any liquid, just get it in. We are pretty much all water. So water is, it's ubiquitous in our body. It's needed for absolutely everything. So all chemical reactions, everything you need water in your body. A good place to start for how much water you need per day, you want to try and get between 25 milliliters to 40 milliliters per kilogram of body weight.
So just to say again, that's 25 milliliters to 40 milliliters per kilogram of body weight.
Yeah.
That's how much.
Yeah. So for example, I go on at high end, I'm heavier now, but I was. So last time I worked this out, I was around 80 kilos. So for me, 40 milliliters of water for an 80 kilo man is about 3.2 liters of water per day. Okay. And so many people are not drinking anywhere near that amount.
No.
And so just being dehydrated like 1 or 0.5, 1% can have crazy effects on your physiology. So you'll have decreased strength, decreased endurance, your cognitive function won't be as much or won't be as good. Sorry, silly, clearly I'm dehydrated. But so yeah, so hydration is so important. So trying to get between 25 milliliters to 40 milliliters of water per kilogram of body weight is a brilliant place to start. So that would be another great habit to add in.
Just to add, what would be some of your suggestions then of how to add this habit into your day?
Cool. So one of these I would say is try and drink around 500 milliliters of water upon wakening.
That's a great one. We do the same. We actually have powdered greens.
Greens juice, yeah.
And every morning we wake up and the first thing we do is get a big glass of water and add these greens. And we straight away drink a big glass of water. One, it gets the greens in. We love our routine. We love our greens. And two, we're just drinking a big dose of water immediately upon waking.
Yeah. So that's a great way to start the day. And because you've been asleep all night, so hopefully you've been asleep for 8 hours at least, 7 or 8 hours, 9 hours. You will be dehydrated when you wake up. So it's a great idea to get that water in as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so just get that water in first thing in the morning. That's a brilliant way. So that's the 500 milliliters ticked off. And then I always like to, for example, with clients, have a water bottle on your desk.
Yeah.
And just try and just go through a certain amount of water before lunch. And then the same thing, have your water bottle on your desk for the afternoon, same thing on the afternoon. And then some people, when they do start drinking this amount of water, they will say to me, oh, I'll be waking up a bit more through the evening. I'll be going to the toilet. If that is the case, then taper your water off in the evening. Stop early afternoon, late afternoon, depending on when you go to bed. If you're like me, you want to
stop at like 2.
It's early afternoon. So yeah, taper off earlier in the day. So drink more beginning of the day and then have less in the evening. Also, one thing, especially when we lived in London, we were drinking filtered water because the water up there is very hard. So we filter all our water, but a lot of people filter their water, but they don't add anything back into their water. So by filtering water, you strip it of obviously all the bad things that are in there, but it obviously strips it of everything else. So the minerals that are in there also. Yeah. So true hydration comes through water and minerals. So if you can even just dip some salt back into your water, that will really help.
Yeah. And just to go on with the water habit, another great idea is just to maybe, if you're not used to drinking that amount of water during the day, it's going to be really hard. Even if you've got a bowl next to you, lots of people, the bottle is empty and then they don't bother going to fill it up because they're busy doing something else. Pop an alarm on your phone for multiple times throughout the day. You can change the wording of your alarm, right? So you can have get up and drink water or whatever you want to write on it, and use that alarm in the beginning to prompt you to go and fill up your water bottle or go and get a glass or go and get a tea, whatever it is. Just prompt yourself, make it so that there's no way of failing, right? You've got your water there, you're drinking in the morning, you've got alarm set, everything's ready to go. What about number 3?
Number 4, you mean?
Number 4? Are we?
Number 4.
Oh, apologies.
I would say another good one is practice mindful breathing. So this can be interjected with any habit.
Yes.
But especially I would say interject this when you're feeling stressed. So if you are feeling stressed and you feel a habit is coming on because you were stressed, then this is a brilliant habit to utilize to calm down. So mindful breathing, there's so many different breathing techniques you can do. But for example, we're just going to do a 3-second inhale and a 6-second exhale. So double on the exhale. So we have to go into so what we mentioned earlier about the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So these are 2 different branches of the autonomic nervous system, and they control a lot of things within the body that are just completely unconscious to us. So the sympathetic nervous system is your fight or flight nervous system. So this is the nervous system that if you walk around the corner back in the day, probably not anymore, maybe if you lived in Canada and a bear is stood in front of you, this is where you go, holy crumbs. Holy crumbs,
Good.
there's a bear, still PG. There's a bear stood in front of me, and everything in your body gets ramped up. So obviously anything needed within those few seconds, the body doesn't need within those few seconds, gets shut down. So your blood to your genital area is not needed in that time. So it's going to get shut down. So blood to your stomach for digestion is going to get shut down. All the blood's going to get sent to the periphery of your body. Adrenaline will get released. Cortisol will get released. So these are all energy hormones will get released. Your pupils will dilate. Your heart rate will go up. Your blood pressure will go up. Basically, your body is just ramping everything up to either fight the bear, which is stupid, or run from the bear. So you're going to either fight or flight. So that's why it's the fight or flight, the sympathetic nervous system. So this is a very primitive part of the nervous system. And this is obviously used, this should be acute. So this should be, you see the bear, this nervous system get kicked in, it goes up. So everything gets ramped up. And then after you've run away or you've fought it and you've killed it, then the nervous system will come back down again. But what happens with our lives now? We are constant. That was due to stress, but we are constantly stressed now. So a lot of us can be in the sympathetic nervous system for a long time, and we can just be burning through stress hormones, and we can not have blood and the enzymes within our digestion. Even our saliva will be inhibited. So imagine you're in this stress state, and then you try eating. You are not going to digest the food. This is why when you're stressed, you'll have stomach issues, because you're in that stressed state. And then on the other hand, we have the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest. So obviously this is where we want to be. So this is the complete opposite of the sympathetic. So the blood is within the digestive tract. We have saliva. Our sexual organs are functioning because we're in that place where we want to reproduce. So this is where we want to be. So if you are in a stress state, we can utilize breathing to bring ourselves back into the parasympathetic state. So into the rest and digest state. So this is what I'll do with clients, especially before, or even like football players, especially before, for example, a football player before a game, or before they're eating before the game, they need the nutrition, but they're still very amped up. If you can use breathing, it will push you back into the parasympathetic state. So the exhalation is parasympathetic in nature. And this is why things like Pilates or yoga focus on the exhalation, because they know it is very calming. And if you are calm, then you can get into a more stretched position as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So think about extending the exhalation. So this is why we do a 3-second inhale and a 6-second exhale. So the exhalation is what will drive you into the parasympathetic state. And this is what will calm you down. So it's been shown that just doing this the 3 seconds in, 6 seconds out, 10 times can considerably calm the nervous system, and this will put us into a more parasympathetic state. So doing this, if, for example, you've come out of a meeting and you're about to eat lunch, do this to calm yourself, and then this will put your body into a better place to eat. So it's only in a minute and a half of worth of breathing drill, and then this is going to put you into a better state. And then exactly the same before you go to bed. If you're having trouble sleeping, I'll do this every night before I go to sleep. I'll do these breathing drills. And I don't know how many I get to, but I end up asleep pretty quickly. So this is just going to really calm you. So if you're having trouble sleeping, then use this breathing technique to calm yourself down, and it will push you into that part of the nervous system, and then this will allow you to sleep.
I think that's probably one of my most favorite habits, because it is so accessible and it is so easy. And whether, you could be going for a meeting and you could start to get a little bit anxious and stressed. And before you step into that meeting, you could just take a minute or so to do those breathing drills, and it can already bring you down. And obviously that then you get a clearer mind, you can communicate better. Yeah,
you're a lot calmer.
You're a lot calmer, a lot more relaxed, and you can use that for anything. So that can be a circuit breaker for anything, even if it is pop into the fridge for snacks. Just stop and breathe.
Yeah.
And it's a brilliant one, because you're taking your mind away from that for a second.
Yeah, it brings you back to the moment.
And you bring yourself back to the moment. And 9 times out of 10, we're all bloody stressed, aren't we?
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I notice it scrolling through social media. It just, for some reason, it can stress me out. And we don't know why, but yet we still sit there and scroll.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just makes you stressful, whether it's because you're looking at everybody's highlight reel, and there's comparison. There's so many things going on now because we have the internet and because we have so much information from all across the world. I think breathing, I think it's getting bigger now, isn't it?
Oh,
it's definitely getting bigger now in the health
stuff.
Yeah, there's loads of things that are really bringing it out. But I do think people still take it for granted and think, well, you know, I breathe every day without, you know, thinking about it. So what's that going to do? What's that going to benefit? And it is huge, and it's such a great benefit. So I do think that's a really great one that you could implement straight away into your habits.
We could do a whole podcast on breathing, actually.
Yeah,
we should. That'd be good.
Yeah, that would be good, because there's so many more techniques. There's so many more interesting parts to breathing. Yeah, there's loads. So that would be a really cool one. And then I think for the last habit of a nice, easy habit would be, I don't know, scheduling in movement.
Yeah,
that's a great one.
Yeah, sticking it into your day.
Emphasis on schedule.
Schedule, yeah. So if it's in a diary, it normally happens. So same thing with your with meetings. If your meetings are in a diary, they're gonna happen.
Yeah.
So it's more likely to happen if you have scheduled your movement into the day that it's gonna happen. So that's for example, when I used to work in third space when I used to work in Canary Wharf, clients would block me out as meetings in their diary, so no one else could change it for them. So bosses couldn't come in and be like, oh, that what? And they'd be like, oh no, sorry, it's a meeting. So I used to be blocked out, but because I was blocked out in the diary, they always came in. So they always showed up, unless obviously something huge happened. They would always be there. So if you can schedule movement into your day, that's a big one as well.
You're setting yourself up for more success than failure doing that, aren't you? You're putting it in there, and it's way more likely to happen. So
we've got our schedule for 11 o'clock today.
So
you don't know what time it is. Who knows what time it is?
We're going to the gym.
So, but it's in there.
So I think that's a really important one. And without scheduling, it's so easy to interject with other things, probably putting the washing on. Or something silly like that can wait and can be done later. But you just get into this habit of going, well, I'll just do it now. Well, get into the habit of just doing the gym now. And I think in the morning's a great one as well, if you can. Of course, just go whenever you can, move throughout the day whenever you can, schedule it in at your...
So that's good. So that's another thing. So going back to the circadian rhythms, so there's something called, it's a German word, it's called Zeitgebers, and this is German for time giver. And there are 3 main Zeitgebers. So number 1 is light. That is the biggest trigger for your circadian rhythm. Number 2 is movement, so exercise. So this is another way you could really set your circadian rhythm by exercising in the morning. And number 3 is food. So they're the 3 biggest Zeitgebers, so time givers. So if you did, and this would be a stupid thing to do, so don't do this. But if you were to go outside first thing in the morning, exercise while eating,
Unbelievable.
Your circadian rhythm would not thank you.
No,
that's not good advice. Do not take that advice, everybody. But yeah, so they just so you know, they are the 3. So that's why if you are eating at a certain time each day in the morning, then this can help set your circadian rhythm. And this is why, for example, we go out, we take the dog out first thing in the morning. So we take him out, so we get sunlight in our eyes and we're moving. So we're hitting off 2 of those Zeitgebers first thing in the morning.
And then we come back and have our breakfast. So we're pretty much regimented in the times that we eat, the times that we move, the times that we wake. And again, body loves routine. So it loves to eat at around about the same time every day. So all of those things, if you can set up small little habits for throughout the day, and that gets you eating on time, that's another great way, actually. If you have your time of lunch scheduled in, or your breakfast, whatever it is, that's another great way to help stop the snacking, because you've got, as long as you're prepared with your food, you've got those times that you're eating. As long as you know, I've got enough food, and you know, I eat at these times a day, you kind of then can talk yourself through going, actually, I don't need to snack. It is just boredom. I'm just doing it out of boredom. I know when I'm going to eat. And my body starts to become hungry at the same time every day.
It will.
Because I'm pretty much eating regularly. So it takes time to get there. So let's just go through those 5 habits people can interject into their daily routine.
Okay, so number 1 is try and get sunlight first thing in the morning. Number 2 is go to bed and wake up at the same time every single day, including weekends.
If you can.
Number 3 is drink adequate amounts of water. So the calculation was 25 milliliters to 40 milliliters of water per kilogram of body weight. Number 4 was schedule
breathing.
Oh yeah, breathing. Number 4 was breathing. So we went through the 3 seconds in, 6 seconds exhale. This will help calm the nervous system. And number 5 was schedule your movement.
Perfect. And hopefully, I'm sure, well, there are plenty more habits you can interject throughout the day. But if you do give those a go, please do give us a message and let us know how you get on. And if you have any other ideas, please do send them our way.
Yep, send them over. And if you have any podcast requests, send them over and we will do our best to
cover the topic.
Cool. We're out.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, team.